My name is Lynn Bessette. I'm a two-time Olympian, a national cyclocross champion, and an ultra-endurance athlete. I have spent my entire life in endurance and adventure challenges around the globe. Now, I'm on the search to find the most grueling, adventurous, and brutal cycling challenge the world has to offer. This is the Sans Col Challenge.
The world of endurance sports is special, and it takes a special mindset to be able to do it. It brings you to small places that you wouldn't go normally. I always like to find an adventure when I get to a new place. When I heard about the Sans Col Challenge, I immediately went to search for it.
Known as being one of the most difficult cycling challenges in the world, the Sans Col Challenge is brutally simple. Climb 100 mountain passes, or col, in 10 days.
And then I saw that there was just a small group of people that actually finished it, completed the whole thing. It made me think, wow, this must be difficult because the list is very short. We're in France, and I'm excited to learn about it. I'm excited to meet the people, because it's a small group of people. It's maybe 25 athletes that are gonna ride for 10 days and do 100 col. So they're gonna climb 100 col in Europe, in France, in the Alps. And I wanna try to figure out, why did they decide to do this?
I've been looking forward to doing this for 7 years. I've been under no illusions as to how difficult it would be.
I don't think there's any way to quite train for this until you've actually done one.
To know that it's not worth hurting yourself for the long haul just to get through is a cycling challenge, essentially.
So you don't really know what the daily routine's gonna look like. Can you ride like that day in and day out? And there's just no way to simulate that in regular training.
It is extremely tough, and it takes a big chunk out of you.
All of this just comes together into these amazing, almost kind of dreamlike climbs and then descents. There's nothing else like exists.
It would be awesome to complete it, but also it's fine if we don't. I've made my peace with that, essentially.
I've seen a couple people at the hotel. The athletes are starting to arrive. They're definitely stressed right now and nervous about the whole thing.
Over the next 10 days, the riders will cover a set course in the Southern Alps of France, covering over 2,000 kilometers, averaging 200 kilometers per day. They will climb a total of over 45,000 meters, including iconic climbs like Ventoux, Machine, and Galibier. In total, they will climb exactly 100 col over 10 days.
The organizer of Les Sans Col is Phil Deeker, and he's from Belgium, and I'm really excited to meet him because I have a lot of questions for him. It's really nice to be here in France for Les Sans Col. I'm excited to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
So this event, Les Sans Col, is one of the hardest events in the world, cycling event in the world.
It's all about perception, and I'm really happy with this format that is sort of roughly based around 200K, 180 to 200 a day, 4,000 to 5,000 meters of elevation. If you show those statistics on paper to most people, they will say, that is crazy. How do these guys do it? The beauty is that I see people actually doing it who are not the hardest, toughest riders in the world. They just got the right mentality. It's not about the statistics. It's about the morning light, the evening light, and everything that happens in between. And somehow or other, you get up the next day.
You do it again.
And you can do it again. It's an incredible thing. Okay, this is not tourist rate either. This is hard. It really is hard. But it's doable if you know how to manage it.
Leading up to the start of the challenge, the athletes are filled with anxiousness and apprehension, not knowing what to expect in the days ahead. There really isn't any way to train for this type of an event, and the athletes won't know what the challenge will look like until they're immersed in it.
Every time I start one of these, it's an amazing, special moment because we're about to spend 11 days together and we have no idea what's going to happen.
Simulating the training for this type of event in a regular training regimen isn't possible for most riders. Riding up to 8 hours, 200 kilometers, and 5,000 meters of climbing day in, day out will be a massive challenge.
Where the event takes on its true dimension is when I push people beyond their own perceived limits. This bunch of stuff, which weighs very little, is enough to get me through pretty horrible weather. Here, those are thermal gloves. Ultimately, I have no idea what sort of group of riders I have in front of me. And to each one, I would say, expect the unexpected, expect to be surprised by what you go through, both physically, emotionally. As a group, we are going to create something which is going to be totally unique. And it's going to be as special as we are able to make it as a group.
The stage is set. The riders are as ready as they can be. The only thing to do now is to get started.
Someone once told me that the definition of adventure is that the adventure starts when the plan fails. You know, for me, the biggest thing is the sense of journey. So I would say, yeah, let's go. We're ready to jump.
Morning.
So at the start of every event, I just pause. I usually do it before I leave my room to go down to start stage 1. And I visualize myself on a 10-meter diving board. And I open up my arms into the angel position and just check that I am actually ready to let myself go. And that's all about really acknowledging that I've done everything that I can possibly do to make this event happen. Now I'm in the arms of destiny, and I'm ready for it, and I'm ready for whatever might come along.
Day 1. Everyone is excited and nervous. Years of preparation, training, and anticipation has led to this moment.
I went into the first Sac-Col challenge pretty blind. I didn't really plan much. I hadn't really trained specifically for it. It just blew my mind. I'd never done anything like it. I mean, I'd done one 200K ride in my life, and now I was doing 10 in a row with 5,000 meters of climbing a day, which for the average person, it doesn't really compute. It's monstrous. It's crazy. But I loved it. Like, I just loved the fact that all I did all day was ride my bike and talk to my friends.
Not feeling 100% today.
I don't know if I'm gonna finish this one. Like, I know when I haven't been prepared for these, and that's how I feel now, that I'm not prepared. I don't have that confidence going into it right now. That's a genuine concern, but I'll do everything I can to make sure I can just get it done, because I'm at that stage where I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to physically do this. And I think I got 1 or 2 more in me. All you got to do is keep riding, and hopefully I can do that.
As the riders leave Carros, they encounter their first col the moment they leave the urban landscape.
This is the first call, Col de Vence.
To me, there's no better way to explore the mountainous region other than a sac col, because everything's laid out for you. You're going to climb everything. To be able to go and share it with Greg, who's one of my best friends and someone I admire tremendously, that's a big motivator for me.
This isn't my first sac col. In 2019, I went to do a sac col in the West Pyrenees, starting and finishing in San Sebastian. I actually wasn't able to finish that ride, but I think what I was most disappointed about was not being able to ride it with my friend Rob, and also just missing out on riding some like super epic roads, right? Because that's kind of what this is all about, right? It's about just the experience and riding these incredible roads that most people don't get to ride. Like, I want to get to the finish, you know? It's a group event, but cycling's kind of an individual sport too, and everyone's gonna have their own individual struggles over the next 10 days. Like, that's obvious, right? But everyone being in it together means that everyone can support each other.
As the day goes on, riders start to feel the effects of the long day, the multiple climbs, but most of all, the heat.
It's a pretty hot day. It's overheating a little bit, and so just having a bit of a break to try and get in to cool down, which is a bit of a shame because we're about 100 metres from the top of the hill, and it's downhill most of the way from here. But coming from the southern hemisphere where it's winter into the northern summer is a rude awakening.
It's good though.
I rolled up on Ed towards the end of the stage one, and he was sitting on the side of the road in the shade. So close.
I know, it's ridiculous.
He really was cramping really badly, both legs.
Just not enough salt.
Did you drink electrolytes today? Okay.
Just not enough. Hey.
Well, cramping is like your muscles are just depleted and they stop working, basically. They just seized up. And you want to bend your leg, but it doesn't let you do it. It seems like you have no control on your body anymore. And it's really hard to get moving when you get them.
Rightio. You good? I'm good. I just forgot to drink. I was enjoying the scenery so much and just wasn't able to cool down. In hindsight, I probably should have stopped, but I was being stubborn. But ultimately paid the price. So yeah, lesson learned for today.
The Sac Col's challenge is about pushing yourself, probably beyond your own perceived limits. So days are hard, days are long. The idea is not, and never was, to create an ultra endurance event, nor was it to be a race. It's about effort management rather than pure performance. How you ride on one day doesn't give that much away about how you're going to be riding after 5 days.
True.
You know, because people can give their all for one day, but then try and get them out of bed the next morning.
It doesn't work.
There's usually this mixture of people who are quite obviously physically more suited to climbing, slimmer, fitter, you can see. A younger maybe, although obviously in endurance things, young is not especially an advantage.
68 I am. I'm the oldest rider on the South Col Challenge. My legs are feeling relatively good. Some of the climbs I wasn't quite expecting the gradients to be quite so steep. I'm not fast, but I sort of get there. As long as we get to the top, there's nice views. That makes it worthwhile.
I can see that there'll be people who will be at the front of the group and others that will be back. And my challenge is always, how wide is that gap going to be?
And how you manage that.
Exactly, how I can manage that. I don't like holding back the first guys, and I don't like stressing out the slower guys.
From a physiological standpoint, this kind of climbing is not what I'm best at. I find it a bit of a challenge, a bit of a mental and physical challenge over and above the fact that it's You know, it's a lot. There's always self-doubt. I'm always, you know, riding with a bit of self-doubt. There's always trepidation. Now we're gonna do Ventoux. It's one of the most fearsome mountains that anybody can climb.
Well, Mont Ventoux is one of those famous mountains in Provence that everybody wants to climb on their bicycle. It's iconic. It's a really, really hard mountain to climb because of the temperature and the weather.
The weather on Ventoux can change so dramatically. That's a concern. That's kind of why I'm here, to do stuff I've never done and to try to overcome those things. Well, we'll find out. We'll see how it goes.
Through my whole career, I've never had the chance to climb Ventoux. I've done already La Route des Alpes, which includes a lot of big climbs and famous climbs, but that one I've never done.
Ça s'appelle le 100 col challenge.
Challenge, oui.
Et c'est sur 10 jours.
C'est sur 10 jours.
Fait 100
Il faut faire 5 cols.
Sur 10 jours.
Voilà, sur 10 jours. Ouais.
Ouais.
So very excited to be able to do it today.
With bike in hand, it's time for me to step in and feel for myself the challenges these riders are facing.
So Phil, this is start of day 3.
Yeah.
Where are we today?
Well, we're actually about to start the pretty much non-stop 8K section of 10% on the Southern Classic side of the Mont Ventoux, which happens to still be my favourite climb of them all.
Why is that?
The amazing views on this climb.
Now things are getting a little, you know, harder, bigger climbs. What do you usually see that people go through that are hard for them?
Quite often it's weather related as well. I mean, we talked about heat, but sometimes it's the amount of calories they lose because they've got cold and wet.
Yeah.
The weather is the most underrated aspect in most people's minds. It is what prevents people completing the event more than physical ability. How steady are you mentally? How strong are you when your whole body is soaked through and you're starting to lose feeling in your hands? When you're over 1,000 meters of altitude and it's like 4 to 6 degrees?
Doing simple things like putting your jacket on becomes hard at the end of the day. It's going to be a cold ascent. Let's do it now.
You know, we're going to be end of day 3, and for me the 3 first days are the test. People see how their body's responding. And the most important thing for everyone to understand in the first 3 days is to try and find that comfort zone and stay in it for as long as possible and not worry about what everyone else is doing.
And what everybody else is feeling.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be right for me to be on Mont Ventoux and not take advantage of this opportunity. It's time for me to enjoy this mountain to its fullest.
Every day you can go up there and the weather changes everything. The scenery, the feel, windy. At one point when you pass the tree line, you feel like you're on the moon. When I got to the top, it was just beautiful. It was just amazing. The view, we could see everything. Of course, every time you go up a mountain, you get the descent after, which is the fun part.
So that downhill was awesome. We were just like flying. So I can actually get into what's called the super tuck, which you can go really fast. And that's fun. I love that.
At a certain point, it was a tailwind on long stretches, and I was cooking. Like, it was really quick. My first Ventoux experience, I could say 12 out of 10. Climbing Mont Ventoux for most people is something very difficult. It's a challenge in itself. They're on their way to more climbing. This is just a little stop for them.
It's going to get hard no matter what, and you want to be in the best possible physical shape and the best mental state of mind when it does get hard so that you can actually have fun doing it.
This is why we come here.
This is our last climb before lunch. And we're gonna roll. Ready?
At Le Col de la Machine, the riders just went through this amazing part of France. The road is actually carved into the rocks on the side. It's super narrow, there's motorcycles, there's a lot of cyclists, and it's just so beautiful. You're only protected by this little cement wall, and protecting from what? From this hole that is probably 1 kilometer straight down. So this is a pretty neat place for cyclists to come and just admire the beautiful scenery.
I don't know how Phil finds these routes. They are just the most beautiful, isolated. You can go for miles and all you can hear is cowbells and nature.
The kind of the tranquility and the nirvana headspace is starting to happen now, like where, you know, nothing else exists outside the bubble.
Cherry. And a bit of jam.
So we have muesli this morning, sandwiches, pocket sandwiches, fruit, snacks.
How important is a feed zone when you do a sans col challenge?
Like, the guys are out there for most of the day, the whole day, more or less. So it's not really like a kind of pit stop. It's a bit more of a meal, like, in the sense that, like, if they're going from breakfast to dinner out on the road, so we're kind of their lunch, but at the same time, it's not like a proper sit-down meal. It's kind of just a little moment for them to take a break from the road as much as anything, but equally, they need to eat. And you can't really do one of these events on sugary energy food, sports nutrition. We probably won't see them for another 70 or 80 kilometers, which, given the route, is going to be another 3 or 4 hours. Like, that's a good ride on its own.
Just on one day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 4-hour ride. And so, yeah, you need some proper food just to stop and enjoy that while you're out riding.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
We're part of the journey. Like, you get this group of people that you've never met before, and Phil puts them through this kind of amazing adventure and this ordeal, and you see everybody change and you see how people go through these journeys and you hear their stories and you feel like you're part of this event.
Big day, huh?
Yes, it's more mental than anything. Body's okay just for now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty relentless is the word.
Yeah.
Very little respite.
A lot of climbing.
In the morning of stage 4, I wasn't even sure I could turn the pedals, and I was dragging so badly, and basically I'd just eaten bread and water that morning. I just thought if I can back it off 30 or 40%, let's see if I can just hold this till the end.
So, that was a good climb. Nothing over 10%, which was okay for me. That's my limit.
So I got to the top of the climb, and Michael came up, and he was really pale, and I could see that his blood sugar was low.
Ed turned to me and said, "You're white."
You feeling okay? You're looking a little bit pale.
I know, I'm very low sugar now, I can tell. And I said, I'm really empty. Like I can barely turn the pedals.
You want a little bit of this? Just a bite? He's been sick, not feeling great the last 2 days. I went up to him and I knew he needed sugar right away because I could see his body was just depleted. It'll help your sugar though. Take this one too.
I was also like nearing pure empty. Like whatever I had stored, whatever I was trying to ingest, there was just no way to keep up. I got into the second feed and I thought, F it, I need to eat like right now and I need to start trying something. It's harder to enjoy the ride when your stomach's doing hula hoops and cramping, and you're not able to eat, come into the feeds, and it's a bummer that you see all this good food and you can't eat it. But yeah, hopefully the stomach will clear up.
There are days where, and even moments, where it's not gonna go well. You're not gonna feel well. It's important to look out for your teammates when you're in an event like this. It's important to look at their faces and see and ask them how they're feeling.
Let's keep ahead of the storm, yeah? We good?
You know it is going to hurt at some point. The question is, how willing are you to expose yourself to the pain ahead?
I feel like what I lost was the pure enjoyment of the ride. It was to the point where it wasn't fun, and that for me is not what cycling's about.
I'm actually surprised. It's the 5th day already. They're doing 5,400 meters of climbing. That's a lot of climbing. So different state of mind, I would say. Some people are meditating. Other people are climbing with a friend. Some others are alone. But everybody's finding their rhythm right now.
I feel obviously a very big sense of responsibility to, you know, I'm leading an event where people are going to get tired. They are on roads. There's a lot of danger out there. Ultimately, safety comes before everything. But also, occasionally, things happen that aren't planned. You know, that does happen. I suggest that everyone else carries on. And I can ask you, Rob, I think everyone else just carry on. Like, this is not an emergency situation. It's like quite an interesting challenge.
A new one?
Yeah.
Never had a bike in a tree.
Well, as Jamil said, I far prefer to be dealing with a bike in a tree than the rest of a body.
We're heading down a fairly steepish cornered descent that was wet. There was a car between Michael and I.
I just did a sort of sideways slide, took the speed off it, and then hit the barrier. And I topped over the barrier, and there was a gap between there and the concrete wall and the ravine.
We got one option is to cut the tree down in which the bike is suspended.
His bike did not unclip until he was basically on the ground.
But the bike went up in the air, right over me.
And he catapulted it and sent it off a 50-foot cliff.
So we probably just climbing up here with the saw.
Yeah, and now we're trying to, I believe, cut a tree down.
Yeah, it's an interesting predicament. Give me 10 minutes. Okay. That's all right. Sure did. Bravo. Oh, geez. Yep. Yeah. I've got one perfect bike in my hands. I'm not quite sure. Oh, yeah, no, it's all right. Not quite sure what we'll do with it now. Whoa. Sorry. We have a bike here that I think is perfectly rideable.
Tomorrow's gonna be a tough one. Today we tried to take it easy. We'll see.
Do you know, when all this is over, I'm going to take you guys to Yorkshire to see some real scenery.
These kids are just booking it. I think Bill and I are getting too old for this shit. Yeah.
This is what happens. That group up there, gone. They're younger. And it's mentally challenging sometimes to stay humble enough to not go with them so that I can try to finish this entire thing.
So on day 6, we started with a big climb, about 25K, and sort of a sustained gradient of 4 to 6%. You know, I kind of call that my kryptonite. I'm a thin guy, so when it gets steeper, I actually have a better, what they call power to weight ratio, and it's easier for me to climb steeper gradients because gravity works hard against the bigger guys.
Almost there.
4 to 6% gradient. You don't change your body position, you're just like riding, but you're riding uphill for a couple of hours. And those were just difficult for me and my physiology and my body, and then mentally it was challenging. Tomorrow we're gonna do Galibier. Galibier it's a monster, huge mountain. It's a big climb historically.
The Col de Galibier it's the site of some of the most epic exploits in bike racing history in the Tour de France. It's like holy ground for cycling.
There's been legendary, assaults on the Galibier by racers.
It's often the highest point that the Tour de France goes over in any given year. And it's my first time in the Alps, so this is my first time climbing the Col du Galibier.
It's one of those monsters of the Alps.
This is a hard feat for most cyclists, even without having climbed 9 cols already in a single day. At this point in the 100 Col challenge, it is a punishing ascent to put at the end of day 7. With no signs of human life, the Col du Galibier stands 2,646 meters above sea level.
Just one of those days where everyone rides away from you, so mentally it's a challenge. You're not able to keep up, so physically it's a challenge. For that first sort of 10, 15, 20 minutes of a climb, that was really taxing for me. In bike racing, we say if you're hurting, everyone else is hurting, so you go.
Sometimes I get asked, why does every day have to be long and hard? Why? And I say, well, I think you'll understand that maybe by day 10 or maybe after the event.
Eventually later, I would feel good in the climb. I could ride into it, and often I would actually kind of catch up to some people. I also knew, I only had a little bit further to go. I felt really good till about 3.5 kilometers to go, and then I kind of dropped anchor. I just slowed right down, and I was struggling.
And that's when the sense of adventure creeps in. The mountains can be amazingly generous, but they can also be pretty hard places.
Just like you're running on empty, and you gotta keep going.
100% top shelf, couldn't be better. I really like the altitude when there's actually less oxygen.
As we got further up, it was quite stunning. And then it just kind of comes out and opens up into this alpine scape, and there's no trees and the sun.
So at the end of the day, there's this moment of kind of a mixture of relief, satisfaction, fulfillment, and just peace, really. And when it happens on a mountain like that, with the light like that, it was absolute perfection.
That was easy. What was it? The high point of the trip, literally, spiritually.
Galibier in and of itself is iconic. It's legend, stuff of legend. So to be able to climb it at that time of day and appreciate everything about it, and it's pretty magical.
I rode the entire day, the entire 205 kilometers with my friend Rob. We've been friends for almost 2 decades, and it's pretty special to do this kind of ride with someone that has always been there to help me out during my time as a bike racer. And to hit the summit there just at sunset, and before you is this descent that's just laid out, this ribbon of perfect asphalt winding its way down the mountain in front of you. It's just incredible.
Part of the magic, I think, about cycling generally is that You're not on a bike and going through all the sensations and emotions. You really don't understand why. And it's hard to explain that why. You just give up, because you can't. It's only when you're there doing it that you discover, okay, this is gonna hurt, but actually, maybe we can do this. The truth is, we can do it because we're not racing it, because it's not a race. Where the event takes on its true dimension is when I push people beyond their own perceived limits.
So my toughest day could have been day 8. It's hard to think of anything other than just moving forward and really shutting everything out and just saying, I have to accomplish this today. And there's still 2 more stages, so it's not like you're almost there.
As you run out of fuel, your body begins to deplete your fat reserves. Often this leads to a state of mental fatigue.
I'm having a tough day. I'm empty, and I just feel drained after the last 2 days, so I'm really tired and I'm really fatigued at the moment. I just want to get through today and get some rest and get some food, and have 2 stages left that get shorter and hopefully a little more fun, and I'm ready for it.
Energy level, good?
Comes and goes.
Takes you a long time to warm up, that's all right.
That's what happens when you're really old. I wasn't healthy. I wasn't good. I was mentally tired, I was physically tired.
I got it. These people are having a hard time. They're tired, they've already have so many kilometers in their legs.
Never done that many 25-kilometer climbs in succession. So my body was like, seriously, pal, well, why are you here? That's kind of what it felt like. Like, why are we doing this?
Everything starts to hurt, like maybe a little part of your body starts to hurt and that's the only thing you're thinking about. Those are all things that starts to weigh on yourself in a challenge like this.
People realize that they're in a mind over body situation. All they want to do, their body is screaming, can I stop now? I've had enough of this. And their mind has to say, no, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to give up.
Sweet chili, anything else, peanuts?
You know, I try to rationalize it by saying I'm 60, I'm lucky to be here, but I don't kind of look at the world like that.
I'm feeling a little more than my 60 right now. Closer to 1,000.
I don't let that get me. I'm still competitive here, right? I still have that. I'm always going to feel competitive. I'm coming more to grips with it. I didn't do much except just say, pardon me, but fuck it. I'm just gonna muscle through this.
On your own, you're having to find resources within your mind more than your body to make this a positive experience. And you can create positive energy through a change of mental attitude, which is actually going to fuel your body as well almost as a gel or an energy bar.
And there are people like me who, they don't quit. And I didn't quit. I wasn't gonna let myself quit. I wasn't gonna stop. I wasn't gonna let anything get in my way. And nothing did.
We do this thing as a group. And although everyone is having to find that positive energy within themselves, but collectively, they've achieved something as a group in quite a subtle way. I can keep up. I'm doing this. I'm going to do this.
I never do these trying to be the guy at the front, right? Like, that's not important to me. But if I feel good, I like to enjoy that feeling.
That's a Phil Deeker finish. I can't believe I actually finished that one.
Today is the last day, and I think they've all realized that they're almost there. En français, c'est le cheval sent l'écurie. Alors, it's like a saying that you smell the finish line. It's been very inspiring to see those athletes finish this challenge.
So day 10, I still wasn't feeling great, but I knew it was the last day.
When I look back at stuff that has happened on the road, and I'm not talking personally, I'm just talking overall as a group, as an event, it's much more of a really nice sense of achievement, accomplishment in a very pleasant way, because I'm surrounded by people who have just had an incredible 10 days, and that is a great feeling. There are many moments on day 10 when I just say thank you, thank you.
Oh, Robbie.
I don't think in any other circumstance Phil and I would be friends. But in these circumstances, Phil and I think, have a real mutual admiration of each other.
This is the hardest cycling event in the world that only the toughest, craziest, loveliest people can manage to do. And the worst of them come back and do it 8 times. Congratulations, buddy.
Without trying, he's exposed me to an awful lot of wonderful things about life. And I'm so grateful for being in a position in my life to be able to welcome someone like Phil into it. And I think you saw that with everybody. Like, there was a level of commitment and dedication to the people of this one that is fairly unparalleled in my call experience.
What is the Southern Alps Challenge? How do you try and define in words something that is one thing on paper, in statistics and numbers, even in images, and is something else when you're actually on the road?
We're getting to the end of this Southern Alps Challenge. There's this spark that I can see because they're reaching the finish line.
We kind of started pretty slowly, and then all of a sudden I kind of set into a groove that I knew I felt good. I just pick up the pace a little.
So you start going faster, your energy levels come back up.
As I got further up the mountain, I was just giving it a little bit more intensity, and I wasn't worried about what lay ahead. It's that moment I think any kind of endurance athlete has where they know they're in the place they need to be. You're in your zone. I was, and I felt it. I felt good. I finally felt good.
The fact is, there are moments in the day to get to that magical moment of flow when your body and bike are perfectly in harmony. You think, oh wow, it's like happiness.
When I started day 10, I knew I was going to finish, but I didn't think I'd finish well.
I can visualize many moments when I've rolled down the final descent, and I always come in with the last riders on day 10.
When the three of us just kind of rolled in, everyone was just, they were happy to see us. The crew was there, right? There were a bunch of people there, and there were beers and ice cream, and it was fun.
And there really is a great moment of intense mixture of relief and satisfaction.
I have all those gifts that enable me to do this, to test myself, to test my will, to test my physical strength, to test my mental strength. It's important that we test those things. We have to. I mean, what's life without pushing the envelope? We've got to move forward in life at all times. And I can't think of a more blatantly obvious example of fuck, you got to move forward.
It definitely is something that I can be proud of. I can't hide that, yeah. It's a fantastic feeling.